Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, welcome back to another video. And in today's video I'm gonna be actually showing you another duped palette that I made in the morning, and that's the America Sparks palette by Nomad Cosmetics. I have wanted this palette for a very long time and then decided that I can kind of dupe it with palettes that I already own or with my singles, so I didn't buy it. But now that they're re-releasing it for their 10-year anniversary, I just decided to pay homage and try this color story, at least in some way. So hopefully you'll enjoy this duping session. I'm gonna obviously share with you which shades I've used, what kind of products I'm using. I'm gonna show you swatches, 2 looks with this, and a final review of this color story. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. In case you're new here, hi, my name is Sasha. I love indie makeup, I love colorful makeup, I love eyeshadows, I love duping. This year has been definitely the year of duping, and what can I say? It's just a perfect way for me to enjoy color stories that I would really want to try, but I probably would not get enough uses out of these palettes. And it also saves me a lot of money. So, you know, it definitely has multiple different purposes. So first up, let me kind of show you this color story, show you the swatches, and let me walk you through all the shades that I've used. So I'm gonna pop up the b-roll of all the extra footage. Let me show you what shades that I'm using. For the background and like the magnetic palette, I'm using my Legend of Korra palette by Colorpop, because that's the right size that I need, because this is a 15 pan palette. And when it comes to the first row, I was actually really surprised how little amount of mattes are there. There's actually only 6 mattes, and they're kind of strategically placed in all the corners and then the middle of the palette. So that's kind of interesting. All the rest is shimmer. And on the first row, we're starting with this matte. I've searched a lot of different photos and videos of this palette, of like the newer palette, and sometimes this first shade was yellow and sometimes it was kind of orangey almost. So I chose the shade Entangled from Colourpop. It's a single that they sell, or hopefully they still sell it. And this one is like right in between orange and yellow. It's like a very warm yellow, light orange, kind of dandelion-y shade, and it's absolutely beautiful. I love this shade. I've used it many times and I do enjoy it a lot. Next up, for this light pale yellow shimmer, I've used the shade Glaze from Makeup Beauty Shop. It is absolutely stunning. It's a new shade for me. I've only used it once or twice, and I can't wait to use it again in this color story because it is beautiful, and it has like a little bit of like a pinky blue sheen to it, and also this like soft, almost minty green when it flips, which I feel like just works with this color story so perfectly. Then we have the shade Swiaziak. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And it's a depotted shade from the Alter Ego palette by Glam Shop, because that was the closest green matte that I've had for this color story. It's a beautiful, bright, grassy green. Next up, we have another shimmer, and this one is actually called Zimna Mieta, which I think means winter mint or something like that. And it's from Glam Shop, and it's also from the Alter Ego palette. It's a depotted shade, and this one is like a soft, minty, sea foamy shimmer. Very beautiful, very sparkly. Then we have the last matte on this row, and it's called Ancient, and it's from the Harvest of Souls palette by Fantasy Cosmetica. It's a beautiful kind of dusty purple. Then the second row is all shimmers. So we're starting with the shade Witch's Garden from the Witch of the Wildflower palette by Diavrune. Then we have a depotted shimmer shade from the Tinkerbell palette by Colourpop, and it's called Small Fairy, and this one is like a bronzy gold. Next up, the central shade is called Riptide, and it's from Sinful Echoes, and it's this beautiful minty green, sea foamy, soft, light blue-ish shade. It's a beautiful multi-chrome. Next up, we have Makeup Beauty Shop and the shade Blitzen, which has like a beigey light brown base, and then the sparkle is like silvery blue. It's absolutely stunning and very like neutral but still fun, and I do enjoy this one a lot. And the last shade on this row is from the Wolf palette by Shall We Makeup, and it's the fourth shade. There are 2 or 3 shimmers, I think, and this one is the brown ground-like shade. And I think it's the fourth one in the Wolf palette. Then on the last row, so the first matte shade is called Losers Club, and it's from the Shroud Cosmetics and Betty Bean collab, the Hello Bean palette. It's this kind of reddish brown, very, very warm brown. Then we have this soft kind of like goldy champagne shimmer, which is called Elite 4, and it's from the Pokemon palette by Colorpop. And that's also, I chose Colorpop for the eyeshadows or like the shimmer shades that looked not too sparkly, at least from the swatches that I've seen. Then the central shade on this row is shade Conjure Up, and it's from Colorpop. It's their single. I hope they still sell it, but I bought it as a single maybe like 2 years ago. Then we have another deep potted shade from the Alter Ego palette by Glam Shop. This one is a very bright orangey shade that has a little bit of gold sparkle through it, but it's just a very warm orange shade. I was kind of surprised that a lot of these were very similar. It was either bronzy or orangey or like champagne-y. A lot of them were like that, and it was kind of hard to actually match it because I don't have that many of these shades, especially like warm like oranges and like bronzy shades. I don't really have them. And then last up, I wasn't really sure if it's not supposed to be darker, but it's supposed to be like a little bit more khaki brown, at least from what I kind of noticed. So I used the shade Softly from the Christmas Eve palette by Udon's Eye, because I'm trying to use that up, and I don't really have brown mattes, if I'm being honest, and this one was the closest to what it was supposed to be. But also I've seen pictures where this is supposed to be a lot darker, so I'm not fully sure how it's supposed to look like. But overall, I think I'm really happy with this color style. I think I came very close. Obviously, like I would need to have the exact palette to be able to see if I actually matched it, because especially shimmers, they look completely different in different lights, and also matte shades, like it really depends if you use natural light or if you use warm light, cooler light, very white lights or ring lights. That all kind of really matters. And also if you use like a really bright light or more diffused light, like soft boxes and stuff, that all changes the shades. I usually film everything here in front of a window, so there's a natural light, and if I do swatches, I either do them in natural light if I can, or outside on the grass, because I feel like that kind of looks the most like how I see it, even if I'm inside. If I really can't do that, usually in winter I have to use light, but I try to kind of position the lights to the point that it looks the same as when I see it in the natural light. So that's kind of, I don't try to make the shimmers look more sparkly, which I know a lot of creators do, and that's no shade. Like, I understand that it looks better and it attracts more people, but I just want to show something that actually looks the same. And that's kind of for all the shades. And now let me show you how I created this look. I'm gonna pop up the b-roll of me creating this eyeshadow look, because there was a construction downstairs and it was very noisy, so I wouldn't be able to like give you the commentary with that. But I'm using my Wet n Wild Mega Last eyeshadow primer that I'm trying to use up, and then I started with the bright green matte shade, which is called Zviazak, from the Glam Shop Alter Ego palette. So I had it all throughout the crease in the inner part, and then also kind of under the brows. Then I went in with the shade Softly from the Christmas Eve palette in the outer part to just kind of build up the outer crease. And then to really build up the outer corner, I've used the shade Conjure Up, which is that kind of like forest green matte shade. And then on the lids, for the shimmers, first up I used my NYX glitter primer, and then I have the shade Small Fairy from Colourpop in the outer half of the lid, sorry, the inner half of the lid. Then I have the Wolfa or the shade from the Wolfa palette on the outer part of the lid. In the center of the lid, I used the shade Zimna Meta, which is that like minty shimmery shade. In the inner corner, I actually have the central shade, which is called Riptide from Sinful Echoes. And on the lower lash line, I'm using the shade from the Alter Ego palette by Glam Shop. And it's the sparkly orange shade. I used it on the lower lash line because there's a lot of different like oranges, so I knew that I'm not gonna be able to use them all in both of the looks. Like it would be too similar, and I had to use them somewhere, and that's just how I felt like using these shades today. To finish up the look, I have this green waterline pencil from the from Odin's Eye. It's the Sommelier gel liner in the shade 05. Then I have my Maybelline Superstay concealer, the Essence All Eyes on Me mascara. Then I have this Odin's Eye and Angelica Nyquist collab lipstick, and this one is the matte one in the shade Swamp Fog. It's this kind of bricky shade. Then as a blush, I have the Ice Crystal shade from the Christmas Eve palette, mixing it with the shade Gingerbread from the Merry Christmas palette by Odin's Eye. These are both depotted from these palettes, and I actually freshly repressed this shade because there was a huge pen and it was impossible to pick it up on the huge blush brush. It's really hard to say blush brush for me. Then we have the Beauty Bay Mini Charms palette, and I've used this first shade slightly here, like not in the inner corner, but right where the lids start, just like in a little, just to add a little bit more sparkle. And then I have it as a face highlighter, and this shade is called Milky Way. I always forget that. So Milky Way as a face highlighter. Then on my brows, I've mixed the shade New Leaf from the Merry Christmas palette, which I actually have repressed in here, because obviously with my hair, I kind of try to match my brows with my hair. And this shade on its own would be like too green and too crazy, even though I probably wouldn't mind wearing it like that. But I went shopping today, just like in a grocery store, so I wanted it to be slightly more normal. So I made it a little bit more like a brown with a hint of cool tone green, and I mixed that with this orange to make it a little bit more like neutrally brown with just a hint of green. And this one is from the ZC pad. It's this Colorful Animal X03 little quad. And I have this Maybelline Super Lock brow gel on my brows. So that's kind of everything that I'm wearing. Let me kind of show you the eye look. It is a very pretty, neutral, cute look that I do like to wear a lot. I do actually wear looks like that very often, and it's just kind of like my neutral look. And I always try to create looks with palettes based on the way that I kind of, based on how the palettes feel. So for me, if I were to actually buy the America Sparks palette, it would be my neutral everyday, just like something that is super easy, and I'm not really trying to be like super inventive with it. It's just something that I use for the days that I know I have like 10 minutes to get ready. So therefore, it's a lot easier look. Whereas if this would be like a very creative palette, I would do very creative looks because, you know, and I don't say that you can't be creative with this. I would kind of really like to do this orange with this brown with this kind of purpley shade, like these three mattes, and then maybe like this orange shimmer in the outer half, and this super sparkly seafoamy shade in the inner half and the inner corner. In fact, that could be a really beautiful look. But obviously that's not what we're gonna do tomorrow because I have to use different shades. And if I would use this look, then I would have to do 3 looks with this palette because I wouldn't be able to use the rest of the shades for one more look. So, and I knew I wanted to do just 2 looks with these duped palettes because I just don't have that much time. And I also want to focus on my Pendos palettes and stuff like that. So, but if you want to see more looks with these duped palettes, just let me know down below and I'll film that. It's not a problem. It's just not gonna happen in this video. But hopefully you enjoyed this one, and now let me show you the last look of this video and the final review. Hi guys, so here's the second and last look with my Dupe of the America Sparks palette, which is how it looks like. And I don't know what I was doing in the morning, but I forgot to film this look. Like, I knew I'm doing it for this video, and I forgot that I have to film it. I'm just stupid, okay? That's the explanation that we're gonna go with because that's the only one that's accurate. But let me kind of share with you what I used for this a little bit more. I'm still going with the like neutral theme, but this one is like, for me, obviously greens are neutrals. And if I don't do green and I still want to do something neutral, then it's oranges. That's how my brain works. So that's what we did today, and I love this look. So obviously I have my Wet n Wild Mega Last Eyeshadow Primer on. I started with this shade which is called Entangled from the Colorpop Singles collection. I don't know if you can still get it, but I did buy it as a single from them. Then I have this kind of reddish brown in the second half of the crease, and this one is called Loser's Club, and it's from the Shroud Cosmetics Hello Bean palettes collab with Betty Bean. And then I have this kind of purpley shade which is called Ancient, and this shade is from the Harvest of Souls palette by Fantasy Cosmetica. And those are the only matte, because obviously this palette only has 6 matte shades. Then I have my NYX glitter primer on, and I've started with this shade. I started with this shade in the second half of the lid, and this one is called Witch's Garden, and it's from the Everyone Cosmetics Witch of the Wildflower palette. It's the little 9-pan. Then in the first half of the lid, I have the shade Blitzen, this one, which is like a neutral, with a little bit of like a gray, pink, blue sparkle. And Blitzen is from Makeup Beauty Shop. It's one of their singles. I think it's one of those like Christmassy singles that they've had. Then I have this shade which is called Elite 4, and it's from the Pokemon palette by Colorpop. I have that on my lower lash line, and in my inner corner I have this kind of yellowy greenish shimmer. It's called Glazed, this one. This one is also from Makeup Beauty Shop. I absolutely love it. I've used this shade even in the Fête de Provence dupe video, which is already up, so if you want to check that out, I will link it down below as well, and in the little card. But yeah, this one is absolutely beautiful. I just love this shade so much, and I've already used it like 3 times, and I'm just in love with this. And to make it a little bit more like me and give it a little bit of edge, nothing crazy, like just a little bit of edge, I have this kind of eyeliner. I've been loving these shapes because they're weird and they're fun and they're just like me. So I have this Lin's palette by Glisten Cosmetics, and I'm using the shade Sound Effect. This is actually like a split pan, and it's like a deeper, it's like a mid-tone lilac shade, but I'm mixing that with with white. So it's like a soft pastel-y purple. I really have to clean up this palette. It's currently my palette crush of the month, so I'm using it every single day, and it looks like it. I have to run it through some, I have to put it under some running water to make it a little bit cleaner. But that's for the eye look. And then I have this Spectra pencil from Glisten Cosmetics, and this one is the yellow one. It's just like a basic pastel yellow. It's not my favorite waterline pencil, if I'm gonna be honest. They're a little bit too thick and not like dry, but like, you know, I need something a little bit more creamy and opaque. And then I have this All Eyes on Me mascara from Essence. And the rest of the face is pretty much the same. I have the same blush as in the previous blushes as the previous video. Brows are the same. For highlighter, I have this Beauty Bay Mini Charms palette, and I'm using this shade, which I think is called Infinity, but I'm not fully sure. But it's this kind of pinky orangey peach. It's a beautiful shade. So I have that as a highlighter. And when it comes to this palette, or like the dupe, I think it's very pretty, but I think it's like very neutral, basic, just like everything I own, kind of. Let me try to, you know, I mean, you've already seen this. I've already showed you so many times how it looks like, but I love this color story. It's something that I do wear a lot on the daily, but I have so many different like green-ish palettes. I even have right in front of me the Nomad Ireland Wild Atlantic Way palette, which is 18 pence, so it's slightly bigger. But still, like it has, you kind of have like a purpley matte that is kind of similar. You have a couple of yellows. These are a little bit more paler. Then obviously you have the greens. You have a couple of these like warm browns, like this one. You have way more matte here, and then for the shimmers, like you have a couple similar shades. I think obviously the America Sparks has a little bit more of like goldy champagne-y shimmers, or a lot of them have that like champagne-y effect. Whereas here you only have like the Savage Beauty, then you have a couple like gold here and we're here, then you have a couple of the greens. You don't really have, I mean, you have one kind of orangey shimmer. You don't have these like softer seafoamy minty shades over here all that much. Like you have only this darker foresty green, but otherwise you don't really have those. But I still think, since I already have this palette and I have so many other like neutral palettes, I can get something similar like this in the Undergrowth palette by Cosmic Beauty, or I don't know, so many different palettes that I already own. So for me, it's not a palette that I would need or would be interested in buying, even though when it first launched, and then even a couple months later, I was still kind of obsessed with this, and I thought it's really cute. I love the packaging. I love how like cute it is. So I've definitely been thinking about it for a long time when it launched, but it's not a color story that would really add something to my collection. It's not like the Fede Provence that actually has a color story that I don't have in my collection that I would love to, and that I'm kind of like obsessing over. So for me, it doesn't make too much sense to actually buy this, even though it is a beautiful palette. But let me know what is your opinion. Let me know if you have the original palette or if you're gonna buy the new release. And if you have a palette that is kind of similar to this color story, also write it down below. Like, what would be the closest dupe for you, for your in your collection, in case you are interested in these shades and in this color story. But let me know how I did with the duping process and which look was your favorite. And I'll be super happy to see you tomorrow with another look, with another video. And the last palette, the Berlin Underground, is probably gonna come on my channel in a couple days. I am not completely sure what my schedule is right now, but I think it's like in 2 days or 3 max, because I'm trying to like keep these videos fairly close to each other. So that's everything for today, and see you tomorrow. Bye.